buckle up, because in this video, I'm going to get a little controversial. I'm sure you guys have heard before not to compare yourself to others. It's been something that's been pretty popularized in modern culture. I'm hearing more of it. I hear my Buddhist friends talking about it. I hear people in my growth classes talk about it. You're told never to do it, never to compare yourself to other people. And I want to challenge that and say, is it really that bad? Okay, so jumping right in. I think my supposition is that comparing yourself to other people is a tool. If you follow any of Benjamin Hardy's work, Dr. Benjamin Hardy, there's the book, Be Your Future Self Now. And in that book, he talks about how the past and the future are really just tools. They're tools that we can use to basically pull ourselves along, look back to the past and have an empowering past, all these things you were able to accomplish. And so I think that comparing yourself to others is actually very much in that same line. It's a very powerful tool if you know how to wield it, and then they can also be really negative if you don't know how to wield it. So like any tool, you need to understand how to wield it correctly. It's the same with your past or your future self, right? So like you don't want to have a future that's you'll hurt yourself if you have a future that feels hopeless, it feels impossible. And if you have a past that's, you're victimized by it, you're not empowered by it, that will drag you back too. And so I really don't think that comparing yourself to other people is just all bad. I think there's two sides to it if you know how to leverage it. So what can it do for you? How is it powerful? What does it do? Why is it good? Why should you try? I think when you compare, number one, this is kind of a give me. I'm going to start with this one. It's the easiest one. Comparing your current self with your past self, so measuring, looking back, is super powerful. So that's comparison number one, is looking how far you've come. You can do this from where you are till a couple of years ago, from where you are to the beginning of this quarter. And once you take the time to really do that and see like what you were able to accomplish, you'll realize it was more than you probably initially realized or initially thought. Certainly the one that I love is like when you're thinking of impossible goals or impossible things that you're working on, think about how hard it is to walk, to learn how to walk. There's these motor skills and all this stuff, and it's like, as a baby, you figured that out, assuming you're not paralyzed. But even people that are paralyzed, you have speech, you have all these other things that you learn how to overcome. And so you can really do quite more than you realize if you allow yourself to have the hermetic stress to stretch you out. So, okay, that was number one, is comparing yourself with your past self. Okay, number two is you can use it as a tool to motivate yourself. So now we're talking about looking at other people and measuring yourself against other people. The way that I like to do this is I like to I look at a guy like, you look at Grant Cardone, he's kind of a Neanderthal. He's an interesting character. He's got a lot to say that's interesting. I think some of it applies really well. Some of it probably works for him really well, his personality type. But there's always things I can extract from that, right? And so I'm like, if that guy can do it, I can do it. Like, he's so abrasive and whatever. I'm like, if he can do it, I can do it. And so it's a really powerful tool in terms of increasing your hunger, increasing your drive, and making yourself motivated, putting you in a motivated, empowered frame. So that's number two. The next one is it can help you, comparing yourself to somebody else that's in your space, in your niche, whatever, can help you fast track implementation. You can look at what they've done in terms of best practices and learn from that very quickly without making the same mistakes. And you can implement what they've done, use their strategy. I think Alex Hormozi is a fantastic example of this. Practically speaking, I know he talks a lot about working on weekends and holidays and this and that. And so if you wanted to have a gym launch business or do something similar to what he's done, you can evaluate how he's gotten that far. And you can look at how far he was at the same 5 years in, how far was he versus, compared to you. And so you can use it to help figure out how to fast track your implementation. You can also, this is number four, use it as a tool to evaluate how you would do things differently. So again, Alex Hormozi is a fantastic example of this. There are certainly things that I would do very differently than Alex. He loves working out. He loves spending like 2 hours a day, whatever, at the gym, and eating like junk food desserts and like chewing nicotine, whatever, like nicotine patches and all that stuff. And I'm like, I would probably do some of that different just from a neuroscience perspective. Like, I know that there are some powerful effects of having nicotine patches in the gum and whatever that people use for cognitive empowerment, but like I believe from what I've seen from Dr. Huberman, like the long-term effects of that aren't fantastic. And so I would do that different. I probably wouldn't be eating cupcakes every night and whatever, the way that Hormozy does. And I probably, for me, I'm smaller. I don't know if I would spend 10 hours a week at the gym if I didn't have to. I would love to do something like Dave Asprey does, where it's like you figure out how to biohack your body and get the same workout in a quarter of the time, using some of the protocols in these new gyms that he's opening up to help people hack their fitness game and do way more in a lot less time using AI and all these other tools. So you can use it as a tool to help you figure out how you would do things differently, how you would approach problems differently, tactically, emotionally, from a health perspective. And so that is powerful. The last one is as a measuring stick. So I kind of touched on this with using it to motivate yourself, because you can look at where someone is. But as a measuring stick, it'll help you understand how far along you are. A lot of times I'll hear, this is probably the most frequent one we all use, which is like, man, I'm not where I should be. I really wish I was here. I wish I was doing this. And so I'll touch on that as a last note, but like you can use it as a measuring stick to see how far along you are. So those are all of the ways that you can use it to empower yourself. Like any powerful tool, you can also hurt yourself with it. Just like I talked about using your past and your future self in empowering ways, you can also use those in really demotivating ways as well. And so it's the same thing with comparing yourself to other people. The caveat is your value doesn't come from what you accomplish. And so you've got to figure out, what does value look like to you? What's the family component? What's the spiritual side? Like all these other things, what does that mean for you? I love how Tony Robbins talks about, in a conversation he had with Jim Rohn when he was young, he was like, Tony's talking about his father, and he's like, why didn't my dad, if we're all equal, why didn't my dad have a good job and get paid like, Warren Buffett or whatever? And Jim Rohn says, we're all equal as souls, but we're not all equal in the marketplace. And so you've got to figure out, where the intersection, as Myron Golden would say, where's the intersection of your skills, abilities, and gifts and your passion, what you're interested in. Find that and then develop that so you can be valuable in the marketplace. But, at the end of the day, it's not about what you accumulate. It's about who you become in the process of accumulating the things. That is truly what success is, because certainly there's people that have had abundance and things and money and items and material possessions, and they're unhappy and they commit suicide. And there are people that have nothing and are very happy. And so for me, success is somewhere in the middle of that spectrum, being able to find joy in the process of pursuing the thing before having the thing. So your value doesn't just come from the growth and this stuff, from what you accumulate. So you need to be aware of that when you're comparing yourself to other people, that it's okay. Like, it's okay for you to not be on the same par, right? So if I'm measuring Alex Hormozy and he's younger than me, he's way, way further ahead than me, I don't look at that as a bad thing. I look at that, I'm like, okay, I know so much more than him in some ways, in some arenas, and I'm like, once I get this thing going, I'll be able to like leapfrog certain things, certain decisions and things that he made mistakes on that I can avoid. And so for me, it's an empowering way to look at it. You just have to have it in the right frame and the right perspective. Otherwise, you can hurt yourself. I hope this helps you, and I'll see you guys in the next one.